Alright, welcome back to Flight Sim 2024 and welcome to the Cockspur Phenom 100, Embraer Phenom 100 that is. And in today's video we're parked here on the ramp at Port Elizabeth in South Africa. Nice overcast cloudy day, it's pretty windy as well. But we are chartering a bunch of researchers from Addo Elephant Park, which is just north of Port Elizabeth here, all the way up to Pafuri in the northern part of the Kruger National Park. So we're probably looking at about 2 hours flight, maybe a little bit longer. And I'm not going to be using Beyond ATC today because Simbrief doesn't actually recognize the Pafuri airstrip. It's just a little grass strip right on the edge of the border between South Africa and Zimbabwe. So that's the plan for today's flight. We're heading up there. So let's jump aboard and start getting things set up. So I like to just turn this on right from the beginning. Okay, let's do batteries. This should be on auto. That should be in auto. Generators auto. We'll leave the fuel pumps off for now because they make an annoying sound. Might as well turn these on. This should be armed. Hydraulics auto. Anti-ice auto. Bleeds and mode. And then ignition. Right, let's come down here. So we're starting off today at Port Elizabeth. Oh, I didn't actually put in. So it will be runway 26 today. Cool. Okay, then our routing is direct, or actually we'll put in the Port Elizabeth VOR, which is PEV, because from there we actually have a airway. So that is UW81, like so. And that takes us to Bloemfontein, which is BLV. Perfect. Then we go another airway, UZ36, like so, to Utsev, which is this one. Right, then we have PKV, HSV. Just want to see if those actually have airways. It doesn't actually matter because they're the next stop on the point anyway, so there is actually, we could have continued what was it, UZ36? Yeah, we could have continued on UZ36 all the way to PKV. I wonder if I can edit that. I guess we could just do this. UZ36 all the way to PKV. Oh, hang on. Let's see, because I've never actually done this before. Let's remove that. And then I guess we just remove this one and re-add it. So here would be airway UZ36 all the way to PKV. That's better. Cool, that takes us all the way up, and from there we go we could do the Palaboa VOR. Because that has an airway. So UT915. Which is this one. To PHV is Palaboa, right? Looks like it, yes. We could even go all the way to Gessel, because that's pretty close to where we're going. Let's even do that, because that's the next point. Put that in. That's right on the border. And then we can put in FANQ, which is the Pafuri camp, which is just next to it. So that kind of works. Right, that's our flight plan sorted. And then we can use Gessel in our VNav to make sure we're at a particular altitude, which we'll figure out later by that point. Right, so it will be a vector departure. We'll just vector ourselves. We're going up to 41,000 feet today. So let's dial that in. Like so. And then we can go heading hold. We'll go vertical speed and up. Start at 2,000. Right, that's all set. We sync up the heading once we get onto the runway. Okay, let's put the fuel pumps into auto. That's on. Start up engine 1. Still think that comes up very quickly. Right, start up engine 2. Okay, QNH here is 1017. Like so. Okay, we set flaps for takeoff. Taxi lights on. And there we're making our way out. All the way down to the end of the runway that we're facing now. So it's going to be a slight right turn out there through this little fence, and then all the way down to the end. Okay, and then so we go through the gate here and then left on Alpha. Yeah, so pretty much a straight crosswind. We have a little bit of a tailwind, so we could have actually used the other runway, I guess. But we'll have plenty of runway available, so that's not too big a deal. But full-on crosswind from the left. There's the other runway. Feel the wind already just taxing around. Okay, here we are, runway 26. Right, landing lights on, strobe lights on. Flaps are set. We'll sync up the heading once we get on the runway. Okay, our rotate is 99 knots. Right, here we go. Togo power. Airspeed's alive. Can definitely feel the crosswind. Okay, there's rotate. Coming up. Flaps coming up. Right, autopilot on. Heading and vertical speed 2000. Okay, let's set climb power. Okay, so we've broken through the clouds now, 7,000 feet. Coming up to our GPS route now. 2.5 miles off. So that needle should start moving shortly. And once we get a bit closer, we'll just pop it into nav mode. There comes the needle. Let's go nav mode. Feet, landing lights coming off. Now we can switch the seatbelt signs off as well. Long way to go. Okay, let's see, if I do flight level change, I'm going to keep it about 200 knots. Let's start gaining some altitude a little quicker. So after that kind of initial boost in climb rate, we're back to around 2,000 feet a minute. Completely overcast layer here. I mean, it won't be enough to like hassle any aircraft coming into PE, but still just a thick blanket. It looks like we've got much the same all the way throughout the country, so I'm trying to just think, because there's no weather station obviously at the little airstrip that we're going to. I think what would be the closest. So Hoedspruit is showing broken clouds at 3,500 feet. There's a rain all throughout the interior, but not where we're going. So it looks like where we're going is still kind of the front of the weather, so we're gonna have just a little bit of scattered clouds. So Bait Bridge is pretty close to where we're going, and that's got, it's actually clear there. Okay, few clouds at 29,500 feet. That's interesting. So it looks like the weather up there is actually going to be fine. But throughout the whole interior of South Africa, it's just pouring with rain everywhere. Okay, 20,000 feet. Oh, what are we seeing here? I think that's precipitation, so yeah, that's the next rad. That's heavy rain. Didn't have any rain when we took off. Crazy. Okay, coming up to 24,000 now. So it would appear then that below us, underneath this blanket of cloud, it is just pouring with rain out here. We're crabbing a little bit because we've got 30 knots from the left, which is not too serious. Jeez, and the next rad is completely red now. That's crazy. 26,000. minus 28. Okay, 30,000, just 11,000 feet to go. Keeping it at 0.5 Mach. So you'll see that indicated airspeed dropping. But this number here stays the same. Still 30 knots-ish wind from the left. I mean, we're over 31,000 feet. Climbing at 2,000 feet a minute. Okay, so this is something that happens in this aircraft, is the for some reason the flight level change speed just drops all the way to 0. I've had that on flights before for some reason. There we're back at 0.5 now, so we should continue our climb up to 41,000. coming through 37,000, so just a little bit left to go before we reach our cruise altitude. There's 40,000 coming up. There we are, 41,000 feet. Let's come back to our cruise power. Okay, power says cruise. And now we sit back and relax for the next kind of 2 hours-ish as we cruise along above this blanket of cloud all the way up to northern Kruger. So I will see you again in a bit when it's time to prep for our descent. Okay, so we are coming up to our top of descent. As you can see, the weather's not looking great. So here's our top of descent here. What I've done is... Oh, it's disappeared. Oh, all the weather just disappeared as well. So what I'm actually going to do is set this minimums down to our minimum safe altitude, which is 3,500 feet. But it seems like all the rain just stopped. So we'll see. If I look out the window, it's still cloudy. So basically my plan was we can descend to 3,500, and if we're not visual by then, obviously then we can't do it. So we'll be going to either Skakusa or Kruger and Pumalanga. Okay, cool, that's good. Right, so we can dial this down to 3.5. Now that top of descent is based on being at, I think it's 1,500 feet or 1,600 feet on final. So I'm actually going to set this to that 3.5. See, now our top of descent has disappeared. Interesting. Let's look in here. Okay, we can just back off the power a bit. Right, so it wants us to be descending. Yeah, actually 2,000 was perfect. So we'll look to descend at about 200 knots here. Okay, so I've armed that VNAV path. If we go to 2.2, we should catch up to that path, and it will hopefully then intercept that. Right. Okay, so that is coming down, which means we're catching up to it, so that's good. Okay, so there our plan is to be at 1,500 feet on final at 2.5 miles out. And that's what our vertical path is based off of. So there we go, we're landing runway 17, so we're coming in and swinging around onto our final approach. So everything disappeared off the next rad, so I'm worried that these clouds are just randomly going to disappear. Okay, QNH where we're going is 1013. So technically all good on that already, but we'll switch off the standard, otherwise it's going to complain. Guess we might as well do that now, since it actually doesn't make any difference. Okay, so slowly catching up to our VNAV path. It is armed, so hopefully it'll capture that once we catch up to it. We can see our first constraint over there. What I might actually do, hopefully this doesn't break at all. Maybe we should say we want to be a 3.5 at Gessel. That is going to require us to descend faster. Oh, we don't actually have to be that fast. We're at 1.8. I'm going to add in a bit of power because our upper limit has increased, so we can go a bit faster without worrying now. So now we have our constraint at Gessel of 3.5. See, so this is what worrying me is active sky now says current conditions completely clear, no clouds whatsoever. So I have a feeling that these clouds are all just going to disappear. Which would be a shame, because that was going to be the really interesting part of the arrival, is getting in under the clouds and making sure we're able to actually see the runway. QNH has changed to 1014. And we're slowly catching up to our vertical path. We're 1,200 above now. Right, I'm going to switch the seatbelt signs on as we head into the clouds. As expected, it is a little bumpy. Okay, V path is still armed. We're just over 850 feet above it now. Okay, 265 knots. Just passing, about to pass through 17,000. And we're 300 feet above our V path, so we should actually catch on to that now. So we're watching for this to turn green. Still increasing speed, but I'm going to leave the power where it is because our V path is going to have us descending slightly slower, which means we'll bleed off a little bit of airspeed. Okay, coming up to 100 feet. V path, and we'll see the speed slowly coming back as our rate of descent decreases. Perfect. Okay, just coming through 14,000 feet. Looks like we're gonna have no issues with visibility. Okay, 5 minutes out from Gessel. Start slowing down for 10,000 feet. So we're passing almost straight over, just to the right of Punta Maria Airport in front of us, FA0E. I don't know if we'll get to see it here. Maybe other side this cloud. Should be just here somewhere. I think this cloud might make it impossible. The sun isn't helping either. I think we're too far now, because I think it's between that. Anyway. Oh yeah, we're quite far past it already. Alright, 10,000 feet. And since we're already visual, we can dial this down to 16. It's very weird. Our VNav path keeps jumping around. Okay, hopefully it stays there now. I suppose I could take this even lower, actually. By 500 feet, I think I will have taken control. Okay, QNH update 1016. That river is basically the border between South Africa and Zimbabwe. And not far down there is Crook's Corner, where you've got Zim, Mozambique, and South Africa. Just separated by the rivers. So we're kind of just gonna scratch over Zimbabwe airspace as we make this turn over here. Airstrip below us here as well. Is that on the map? Doesn't seem like it. Just there. Maybe one of those private lodges or something like that. This VNav dipping like that is kind of annoying. Okay, we can start slowing down quite a bit. This airport, I think. 26 Zulu. Is that Madimbo? I think it is. Okay, we should start our right-hand turn shortly. Yeah, let's get the gear coming down to help us with some drag. Next challenge is going to be spotting the airstrip. As you can see, gear makes a lot of drag. We're technically over Zimbabwe now as we've crossed the river. (1,500 feet radio). I think I can see the airstrip. Okay, flaps 1. To keep it around 100 knots. I thought I had the airstrip, now I've lost it again. I'm gonna make a right-hand turn still. More flaps, more power. Right, I think I've got the airstrip inside again. I think it's that little patch there. Or is that too far to the right? Yeah, it should actually be more here. I don't think that's what it is. Or there's another little patch there. Yeah, more flaps. Still don't have it. It's just before the small river. Something over there. know if that's a building or... Ah, there it is there. Probably could have waited longer to get configured for landing, but it is what it is. Okay, I can see the strip. Let's go landing flaps now. Okay, 1,000 feet radio. Clouds have cleared up a lot. At least it all didn't just disappear. I'm fine with active sky doing that where it like gradually changes. I just don't want everything to disappear at once. Okay, I have control. Okay, 500. No speed brakes or spoilers on this, but we've got plenty of runway. A little bit on the brakes. Flaps can start coming up now. Right, welcome to Pafuri. And the clouds are pretty much completely gone. Right, let's stop it here. Set the brakes. And switch everything off. Okay, strobes and landing lights can come off. Passenger signs off. Pumps. Hydraulics and AOA. Bleeds. And then generators. 1, 2. Oxygen and pulled. And then batteries 1 and 2. Okay, and there we are. Arrived safely. Just as the sun is starting to set. Well, I guess the sun is technically setting already, but we just made it while we had enough ambient light. But welcome to Pafuri. No animals on the runway today. I was keeping an eye out for that as we came in. If there were any on the runway, my plan was to go around. That's why I dialed back up to 3,500 in case we had to go around and then maybe come and do like a low approach, try and scare them off. You can hear the river just that way. Right, beautiful late afternoon. But that's going to bring us to the end of this video. As always, if you made it right to this point, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy it, you know what to do down below, and hopefully I see you in the next one.